MAGA movement, I should say.
So Don, that goes to the disagreements we have on social issues between the right and the left. So I understand exactly what you're saying. At the same time, though, I'm beginning to see, Don, that we have our own version of that. And it's not the same and it's not as bad. But now we've gotten into a mindset that everyone on the right is the worst person on earth.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, you kind of are, though.
Wait, no, I'm not saying. I just told you I don't believe that.
Kind of are.
I am not. By pointing out a fact does not say saying that I think that everybody on the right. I don't think that everybody on the right is.
But you're saying those are the people on the right. They're the racist, terrible people, and keep calling them Nazis, racist, et cetera, and we have so much vitriol towards them that I'm challenging us to say, hey, guys, is this what the left is supposed to be? Or are we supposed to be a little bit more open-minded and open-hearted about it? And so let me finish the thought. Don, let me finish the thought. Okay.
One of the biggest criticisms about Cenk is that he goes to these right-winger platforms and does all this, how do I say this, PG? He does a lot of to these right-wingers, giving them almost like a sense of, oh, see, we got one of these progressives or these people on the left coming over to us and they're sucking up to us because they know we're the good guys and we won. And it's like, you don't go over there and give them any smoke, but when you come to somebody who's more independent or on the left, you have a lot to say. This was a very contentious conversation, and we're going to go ahead and review it. Shout out to Don Lemon. He had Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks on his platform. And I don't want to say it was a bad conversation, but a lot of times when Cenk goes on left-leaning or independent media, he's very boisterous and starts going off on people, but he doesn't do that to those right wingers. So let's go ahead and get into it after the intro, you guys. Here we go. What's up, everybody? It's your boy AT2, and thank you guys for joining me for this special episode. You know, like I said, I wanted to get more into the political sphere just because, yeah, we can talk about celebrity gossip, but at the end of the day, none of that really matters when our democracy is being destroyed right now. Literally, Trump signed those executive orders, and a lot of people like to say Project 2025 wasn't a thing that was never going to come to fruition. No, Project 2025 was always going to be a thing. Just because they don't call it Project 25 doesn't mean that it wasn't going to happen. And so again, when you have somebody who's supposedly supposed to be the home of progressives catering to these right wingers, it's very dangerous because you're not pushing back on any of their theology or any of their ideas. You're basically trying to find common ground and almost agreeing with them on some of the most extreme points. So Cenk had a conversation with Don Lemon, and they kind of go over a few things. So we're going to go ahead and review it right now. Let's go ahead and get into it. One moment. Let me pull this up.
So I've been sitting back watching, especially over the holidays and into the first of the year, of all of this controversy surrounding you and the Young Turks and Anna, whatever. And I said, what is going on? Why is this a matter of, are the leftists eating their own? Why is the left after you, Cenk? I would think the right would be after you, but now the left is after you.
Yeah, so a couple of things here. Number one, there is no the left, right? There's a wide spectrum of beliefs, and what you see online is a little bit different than what you see in the real world. And the real left is basically the core of the Democratic voters. So secondly, I get it because we're in very divided times, enormously partisan, and the two camps are supposed to hate each other. That's the groove that we got into. And the minute you say, well, maybe we shouldn't hate each other, people go, wait a minute, are you selling out? Are you a bad guy? Are you going to their camp? But it is, yes, it is
So I want to stop it right there because Cenk and Anna have this thing about them like, oh, we were told that we need to hate these people. No one ever told them to hate people on the right or hate Republicans. No one ever told them that. They had that position on their own. And it's almost like they're blaming the left or Democrats for them hating the right. And like, you guys told us that they were horrible people and we couldn't have conversations, when on their platform, the Young Turks, y'all have called them Nazis and every other kind of name, but now all of a sudden they're great people. Let's continue.
Definitely a little bit more ironic for the left to do that because we're supposed to be the open-hearted.
Isn't that legit to say that? Because especially considering if you were talking about the right, let's just say we were, I mean, even like Bush, like when the right was, when the real Republicans were really in charge. You would say, okay, all right, so he's, you know, he's listening to the right. What is there to listen to the right now? It's the MAGA party, which doesn't care about, they have no principles, they have no morals, and the only person they listen to is their dear leader. So why engage with them? I saw you with Charlie Kirk. Let me play this with Charlie Kirk. You were at what is this thing, America First, and I'm like, why on earth?
America Fest. Yeah.
America Fest. Why on earth is Cenk Uygur sitting down with Charlie Kirk? Here it is.
I knew you guys were for real in fighting against the establishment when I started going on right-wing shows and I would say something negative about Mitch McConnell. And when I did that in the past, what I would get back is, oh, no, Mitch McConnell's great. Pelosi's terrible, but Mitch McConnell's great.
Listen, just because they don't like Mitch McConnell does not mean anything. And let's be clear about something. The reason why they don't like Mitch McConnell is because he pushes back on Trump. If he was all Trump and literally kissed Trump's ass, they would love that. If this is the point that Cenk is missing. They're upset with Mitch McConnell. It's not that, oh, they believe in these corporate or the swamp, you know, as they like to say, even though that party has the swamp within it. However, it's not because he's a part of the swamp. It's literally because he pushed back on Trump. If he was 100% gung-ho on everything that Trump wanted to do, which if you look at his voting history in the Senate, he basically is everything that Trump wants. It's just because he has public disagreements with him. That's why they don't like him. It has nothing to do with, oh, they believe in getting rid of all these old Democrats. These old politicians and getting them up out of office, which I do think Nancy Pelosi needs to go. We need fresh meat in the Democratic Party and just throughout politics. All these 80-some years, get your ass up out of here. But let's continue.
Let's do that here. What do you guys think of Mitch McConnell?
Okay, so then, but why Charlie Kirk? We know who Charlie Kirk is.
Yeah. So let's break this one down. So first off, I think that your fundamental premise is actually wrong. And that is why there's this heated debate, argument, conversation around it. So what I said there,
Charlie Kirk thinks that civil rights was a bad thing. This is who Charlie Kirk is. He felt that the Civil Rights Act should have never been signed into law. Here we go.
is exactly right, in my opinion. And so based on my experience. So when I would go on right-wing shows in the past, I'd get a wall of propaganda and talking points. And I knew what the talking points were going to be ahead of time. I could tell you before I went on air, and they would always give you the same predictable Fox News talking points. It was like talking to a wall. It was totally pointless.
And they still don't give you talking points? They still don't have right-wing talking points? Come on now. He blowing smoke up Don Lemon's ass right now.
Now, I've gone on dozens of right-wing shows, and they all have slightly different opinions. I think today, the right-wing base is in some ways, I get what you're saying about it, in some ways they're worse, but in some ways I think it's better than in the past. And I get that I'm seeing that before others do, because I've had that experience of interacting with them so much. And I get that people look at it and go, oh, that can't be right. MAGA's all bad. And if Cenk is telling me that there's parts of where we might agree or parts where they might not be bad, then I guess Cenk must be one of them. And you know the Dave Rubin track, so people get like as soon as
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you. Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah,
and we can talk about Dave Rubin because that is. Anyways, so let's talk about this.
And by the way, Dave Rubin used to work for the Young Turks, and then he seen that the money was greater on the right. And this is something that Cenk doesn't talk about at all. The reason why the money is better on the right is because they are being backed by big corporations, talking about tax cuts, talking about, saving more money and having more money in your pocket, like those kind of things. Literally, the left or more democratic leaning platforms are not going to get the same amount of money because talking about healthcare for everybody, it's not too sexy, right? Talking about equal pay. These corporations don't want to pay people fairly. Like, come on now. They don't want to raise the minimum wage. They like the way it is now. Corporate greed is throughout all parties, right? But definitely in the Republican Party with those tax cuts, they don't want to give up on that. They don't. But here we go. Let's continue.
Things you said, you think my premise is wrong. You said, let's start with that. And then there's another thing of what you said. So how am I wrong?
So in the old days, they were just single-minded. It's to that Mitch McConnell point. If I said Mitch McConnell, Dick Cheney, whoever else, they would have been like, no way, they're the greatest thing on earth.
Okay, so that's the premise. You stated that. Okay, you said because you think, but then you said they are different than they were before, or better than they were before?
In some ways. And so here's why. If I went to go on Fox News 5 years ago, or really any right-wing show, and I said, hey guys, why don't we do paid family leave? They'd be like, boo, get out of here. That's not in favor of corporations. Shut up, or whatever. Now, they wouldn't say that it's not in favor of corporations. They would have been fed a talking point of corporate propaganda about it.
I don't think Republicans have ever been against family leave. I don't think that has ever been a disposition or a position they had where they didn't agree with family leave. Like, I think that's pretty much popular, right?
How paid family leave isn't good for moms, even though it's great for moms, right? Now, when I go talk about paid family leave, we have a real conversation. Does every show agree? No, but almost. So wait, if the right-wing shows are agreeing on paid family leave, what world are we in? So the one school of thought is, no, Cenk, you're naive. They're all lying en masse, even though they're really not known for lying. They're known for sharing their opinions, no matter how crazy.
Here's the thing. The smallest things Cenk is going to run with. The smallest things. Like, for example, if I say the rent is too high, the rent needs to be lower. I can literally do a poll right now and say, do you believe that rent should be decreased? I'm guessing I'm going to get 90%, almost 100 people to agree with me. If we're doing a poll, right? About 90% to maybe somewhere in the 90s, people are going to agree that the rent is too high and it should be lowered. I don't think that's unpopular, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to ignore the racism, sexism, bigotry. That doesn't mean I'm going to ignore that because they agree on me with something that's vastly popular, right? Doesn't make any sense. But let's continue. Here we go.
I don't think they're known for lying, but
what's that?
I think they're known for lying.
But that's interesting. I mean, look, one of the principal complaints we had on the left about MAGA was they say crazy things. They say things we don't agree with. They say things that are politically incorrect. So it's not like they're shy about sharing their controversial opinions. So, and remember, separate out the voters from the leaders. Like Trump, of course, known for lying. Of course, right? As much as anyone is known for lying, Trump is known for it. But, and do they believe that too much? Absolutely. But did our side believe in the absolute horse crap that Joe Biden and Democratic leadership have been peddling for the last 20 years. Yeah, we believed it way too much. And to the point where the guy's, brain is falling out.
I have some pushback on that. I think one of the biggest disservices that Democrats have is that we push back way too much. Way too much. If you look at how the Republicans will treat Trump and how they ignore a larger range of different issues that Trump have, and they stay consistently on message, they don't veer too much off of that. They might have simple disagreements with Trump, but heavily they back Trump. You would have never seen what the Democrats did to Joe Biden. Now, did Joe Biden need to drop out? Yes, definitely. I mean, Joe Biden don't even know if it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He don't know what day of the week it is. I barely think Joe Biden even knows his own name. However, that public that public outcry for Joe Biden to drop out, that would have never happened with the Republicans. Only the Democrats eat their own. So all this Cenk talking about they just follow whatever, that's a lie. That is a lie. He's being dishonest about that. But let's go ahead and continue.
Out of his head, and we could all see it on screen, and our side was like, no, it's not. He's young and dynamic. He always believed Democratic leadership. And my point is, guys,
never said that.
A whole new world where there's new media. In the old days, the media drilled the talking points into your head. So if you watched MSNBC or you watched Fox News, you were going to have one way of thinking. Now, since they're watching all different shows, they can say, hey, you know what? I don't want. I want mass deportation of immigrants, and we hate it. There's only two genders, and we hate it. The left wing does not agree with those things. But then they'll turn around and say, but we agree with you on war, or we agree with you on paid family leave. So what I'm trying to get people to see is take the win. Now, if you say, hey, Cenk, they're lying en masse, even though, again, they're not really known for that, and I don't believe you, and it'll never happen, no problem. We're going to find out. Right?
I'm gonna have to take notes because there's so much. Look, the thing is that I believe that you should go into the lion's den, right? I truly believe that, but I don't think that you always have to go in certain ways, and to certain venues. And if you do go into the lion's den, then I don't think that you go in there now. It feels to me that you are praising. Your praise of the right outweighs your criticism of the left, and you're on the left.
Yes, Don Lemon has it right. Cenk has no issue with criticizing the left, right? When he goes on those right-wing platforms, except for Piers Morgan, which we'll get into that later, but except for Piers Morgan, every other right-wing platform, he's literally like, "Oh, you guys are so great, and I love being over here, and and the left is intolerant, and they don't they can't have difference of opinions, and I have to agree with everything on the left." And he's basically kissing their ass the whole time. But you see with Don Lemon, and we haven't even got to the worst of it, he's pushing back. He's not taking what Don Lemon says. All this stuff about he's able to throw populist ideas to the right and they're receptive of it, it's a bunch of BS. And we've seen, and I wish Don Lemon would have played that clip when he was all like, we believe that trans should have rights. We believe trans people should have rights, right? And everybody's like, boo! Listen, you went over to that right-wing fest, whatever you want to call it, America Fest, and they booed you when you said trans people should have rights. And somehow you thought that was a win because you got a few cheers. Okay, you really are as stupid as I thought you were. Let's continue.
Left, right? So I look, I can see criticizing the left. I think they're soft. I think, as my producer always says, they're bringing a knife to a bazooka fight, a butter knife to a bazooka fight.
Agreed.
They need to adopt some of how the right operates, especially politically and with messaging, etc. But I don't believe that you always have to go in there and put yourself in the position for people to make fun of you. You have to understand. You
Ding,
seriously,
ding,
for
ding.
the right and the left to make fun of you. Those folks,
Tell 'em,
when you go
Don.
in there, those folks are going to, as soon as you leave, they're gonna make fun of you. They're gonna lie about what you said. They're going to put out headlines. Cenk loses his cool or lies about such and such, and they're just such dishonest.
And if you go to like these different, and it's a lot of them, by the way, you guys, if you go to these right-wing platforms, it's nothing. And you type in like TYT, you will see majority of these right-wingers who would never, ever mess with Cenk or Anna saying the left is bullying Cenk and Anna. Cenk and Anna have left the left and all this other, like every right-winger is now pro TYT. And it's not because of their ideology. It's literally because they can push that narrative. The left is eating their own. Look, they're intolerable. They don't like difference of opinions. You can't relate to the left because if you don't agree with everything 100%, they kick you out, blah, blah, blah. So this is what Cenk likes. He likes having people being able to defend him, basically. That's what it is. Let's go ahead.
Brokers that I don't understand sometimes why you engage, and I'll talk about some of the platforms you engage on. I'm not sure why you do it. But I think David Pakman, in his interview with you, really sort of got to the heart of it. I'm just going to play a little bit of it, and then I have a question for you after it. Here it is.
Worried about the power of the establishment and elites, the recalcitrant centers of power that are corrupt and we're sick of them and all of that. We would identify the problem with almost the exact same language that the crowd at Amfest would. The problem is when you say, okay, left-wing populist, what's your solution? We talk about social democracy, curbing corporate power, using regulations. They will still say the solution is tax cuts for the rich and corporations and all the same stuff. So my instinct is, and tell me if I'm wrong. I want to hear, I'm open to having my mind.
That's true. That's true. Tax cuts for the rich. Again, that whole trickle down economics that Reagan started done F some people up. They still believe in that trickle down economics. If you give the rich a whole bunch of tax cuts, they'll create jobs, they'll pay better wages because they have more money. No, if you ever worked with rich people before, they're very frugal. This is how they keep their money. They don't like to give out money. And the only reason why they donate money is because that's another tax cut. Let's really wake that up. But here we go.
And change. My thought is, even if we really were in agreement about the problem, once we get to solutions, we're not even at all on the same page.
Yeah.
No,
So,
I think you are wrong.
so this is where I agree with him, especially considering what just happened a couple days ago, recently. And that is the inauguration. And you see, when you said, you talk about corporate power and all that, you see Donald Trump with the richest people in the world on the front row cozying up to power. And those MAGA folks, the shows that you're going on, they have no problem with it. They love it. They support all the folks who are up there, including their dear leader. So do you feel like, maybe I should change my stance on this, considering, if you just take a look at a photograph from the inauguration?
Nope, not even close. So let's break this down.
It's crazy to me that Cenk especially has talked about, you have all these corporate Democrats like Kamala Harris, but literally you had Trump being backed by Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. And now he has Jeff Bezos, he has Mark Zuckerberg. They were all at his inauguration. When has Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos ever been at an inauguration? What would they be doing there? Why are they there? Because they're in bed with Trump. And that doesn't alarm you. That doesn't scare you. You don't give a damn about that. I actually have not heard any right-wingers complain about Trump cozying up to all these billionaires. Now, Elon, yes, that's one thing. And we'll get into that later. But as far as the other one, they don't care. They literally do not care. Let's go ahead and continue.
look, so I was on Piers Morgan this morning, and I get into it with a very, fundamentalist right winger, right? And he says the bishop that called out the Donald Trump on Inauguration Day is satanic because she's a female bishop. I light into him. We get into this huge fight, right? And then at the end, Piers asks us about oligarchy, and I explain how, hey, whether you're populist right, populist left, watch out for the donor class because they're not on your side. And this guy who we've been yelling at each other for about 40 minutes straight goes, oh yeah, he's right about that. Okay, so now when I go on to other right-wing shows, is it perfect overnight? Of course not. Are they left-wingers? Of course not. That's why we have such huge disagreements on social issues and even on some economic issues. But when you get to the corporate oligarchy, you see Steve Bannon in a giant fight with Elon Musk, and you see Steve Bannon saying, raise corporate taxes, raise tax on the rich. So now I'm not saying that
Steve Bannon is not our friend. He's literally all the Charlie Kirks, the Steve Bannons, these people that he's naming are not our friends. They're not good people.
You then go do a bear hug of Steve Bannon and say Steve Bannon's an angel, Steve Bannon's right about everything. That's crazy. Of course not.
But the thing is, saying that now.
Hold on, Don. Let me ask you something back. When you see Steve Bannon ripping into Elon Musk, do you think it's all theater and he's lying and they're actually best friends?
I don't know any of that. I think that's.
Here's the thing. Who gives a damn if Steve Bannon, like, what position does he have? He doesn't have a position in the White House anymore. So does it matter what he's saying? He could be salty that he's not in the White House right now. That could be the reason why he's upset. I mean, I don't care what Steve Bannon has to say about Elon Musk. I think it's great. I support white on white crime. I think that's great. Somebody gonna clip that. But I mean, it's none of my business what he thinks about Elon Musk. Honestly, I don't care.
I think that is where Steve Bannon is now. I think that is where, maybe a Charlie Kirk is. And I don't look, I didn't really even know about a lot of these figures when I was in legacy media because it just didn't rise to the level. They never sort of got there. But now, Steve Bannon, of course, obviously. But it's where they are now. And as long as you're going, I have no problem with you going again into the lion's den. But as long as you realize that we're in a different time, and I think that you do. And by the way, let me just preface this by saying, and I told you this before, I really respect what you've done in this whole independent media thing, right? What you've built here. And so for me to sit back and look at you and say, well, is he foregoing his principles for the sake of subscribers, ad dollars, money, then that makes him no different than the corporate media that he despises, that he fights against, okay? But if you're going in there and you're understanding that these people are not honest brokers, that's where Steve Bannon is.
And don't forget about the money that he received from Polymarket. Cenk even named the Young Turks studio the Polymarket studio. So don't forget about that. That's very important, but it is what it is, right?
Is now. Steve Bannon may be different in 5 minutes because they really have no core about some of these things.
Ding, ding, ding.
So, Don, two things. Number one, people are saying two things at the same time that make no logical sense. They say, oh, your audience is leaving you because you're not radical left enough anymore. And you're not, you have to call them Nazis at all times. If you don't, we're going to leave you. And
I don't think people are saying that. I don't think people are. I think that, look, obviously you're being hyperbolic, right? I don't think people are saying
No, I'm not being hyperbolic. That's literally what they're saying. Yeah. So then, and then they say, oh, you're doing it for the money in the grip. So then which one is it? Is our subscribers going up or are they going down? Are we doing it for the money or are we doing it because we're principled and are willing to risk paying subscribers? I'll tell you what the truth is. We've lost paying subscribers, a good amount of them, okay? And that is the exact opposite of a grift. That's people saying we are principled and we're going to bring you real news, even if it costs us dearly. We didn't take any money from Kamala Harris's campaign. It costs us dearly financially, but we do it to be honest and principled.
Okay. So I understand that.
So here's the thing about that. One, he definitely should. And here's the thing, he probably could have had an interview with Kamala Harris, and that probably would have been very helpful to question her about things as far as Gaza. You know, that was one of the big things. I don't see why he refused that. Get in the door and actually ask, you know, the stuff that Cenk wants to be done, he's never going to get that done through a Republican. So I don't understand why he wouldn't want to get in the door with Kamala, at least say, hey, I don't want to get any money because I don't want to run any ads on my channel because it looks a certain way, right? However, I would love to have a discussion with her and then talk with her. Like, and then also I think about this too. With all the negative-ish that they have said about Kamala, did they actually reach out to Cenk? Like, why would they reach out to him? Like, he wasn't a supporter of her at all. So, I mean, he says he did vote for her, but I'm starting to question that. But he wasn't very vocal on his support for her. And then Anna, of course, is, trash. They're both trash. But let's continue.
But I think people think that you believe, this is what they believe, that you're going to gain an audience. You believe the audience on the right is bigger. Those sort of tech bros, those folks are somehow going to come over to
what has that ever happened? But Don, when has that ever happened?
It hasn't happened because corporate media has tried it, cable news has tried it, and it doesn't work.
And I understand the landscape of media overall. I would argue maybe better than anybody does. Certainly online media. I've been in this game longer than anyone else, longest running show. So I would never be naive enough to think, oh my God, I bet if we just switch after 23 years of being left wing to being right wing, that all of a sudden we'll get a larger right wing audience. That's crazy. No, what we're doing, whether you agree or disagree with it, is courageous.
Let's be honest about something. Now, I don't know about any of the other platforms, but Piers Morgan, he pays. So even if the channel is not doing so well, I believe the reason why Cenk and Anna are going on these right-wing platforms is one, to raise their profile, but two, well, three things. One, to raise their profile. Two, to eventually get a job on one of these right-wing networks. And three, they're being paid to go on these shows. Because, like I said, I know Piers Morgan does pay his guests.
We are challenging our own audience. And Don, more than that, these algorithms punish you if you go 1% from the extremes. And so we're willing to risk all of that to be honest with our audience. And I don't see anybody else doing that.
Okay, so here's the thing though, because there are examples of people who are doing this. And I remember I did not before, well, I watched a little bit of YouTube. I started watching, but before I left Legacy Media, I didn't know the characters. I didn't know the game in the streaming digital space. And once I said, okay, I'm going to go over, I did the deal with X or whatever. And I said, let me watch and engage and see what people say. Every single person said, Don Lemon, there's nowhere else to go. He's going to be red-pilled. He's going to sell out or whatever. And I said, these people have no idea who I am because that is never going to happen. But there are examples of people we know who have done that, and they have been fairly successful at doing it, at somehow taking the red pill, apologizing to the people on the right that they called, liars and grifters for years. And what they're doing now is against their principles and what they really believe because they almighty dollar. So people are worried.
This is so funny that he's saying all of this because this is literally Cenk. This is literally Cenk. He's calling him out to his face, but Cenk thinks he's talking about somebody else in the ether. No, that he's directly talking to you without saying it.
Are concerned, and I think rightfully so, because as I said, some folks have done it, that you're pulling a Dave Rubin, that you're pulling a Rubin and you're trying to go to the right because it's the shortest line to the front.
Yeah, so as I said in the beginning, it's understandable since Rubin did that and several other people did that people would be on guard for it. But then once you're on guard, you have to actually listen to what people are saying. Are they actually doing that or are they not doing that? Instead, they're being open-minded, open-hearted, and actually trying to get to the actual truth and being news people. right? So in the case of Dave Rubin, he went from, oh, I'm on the left and, you know, I'm going to stand up for LGBTQ rights, et cetera, to going on Fox
He's a
News
whole
and
different
saying,
person. I knew
Whole
Dave
different
Rubin
person.
back in the day when he had a
Mind you, Dave Rubin came from TYT, came from your network. Let's not forget that. Let's not disassociate Dave Rubin from Cenk Uygur.
remember on Sirius, he had a gay radio show on Sirius. He'd asked me to come on, and his boyfriend, and even, you know, hey, I made a deal with Bonobos. Would you like some Bonobos stuff? You know, get whatever merch or whatever. Just nice. Really, just excoriating the right. And then look, there's a lot that I know, but enough of Dave Rubin. I don't think it's worth.
So
you understand what I'm saying?
Now let's do the juxtaposition with us, okay? So on the issue that you brought up, Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon defrauded his own viewers with that fake wall that he was building and should have been tried and convicted along with his co-conspirators who were convicted. And he got off because he's buddies with Donald Trump, and Trump gave him an outrageous pardon. Steve Bannon is incredibly hateful when it comes to issues of race, immigration, etc. His favorite book is Camp of the Saints, which is the most
Wait.
hero of that.
But weren't you just saying how great it was that he was calling out Elon and all this other stuff? So you do know that Steve Bannon is full of shit. You do know that he's not a good guy. You do know he's not somebody we should be praising. Oh, contradiction, right?
That book is a right-winger who goes and murders all the immigrants trying to get into France. That's also Ann Coulter's favorite book. So these are all things that are absolutely true. So for all the things that you hate about Steve Bannon, you are correct. Those things are true. At the same time, I have open eyes and open ears. He said it during the first term. He's doubling down on it now. He's a populist. Populist doesn't mean blanket good. Left-wing populists and right-wing populists massively disagree on social issues, right? But he's not faking it. He's been saying this for a long time about increasing corporate taxes and increasing tax on the rich. And when you go to fight Elon Musk, the world's richest man and the guy who's the first buddy of Donald Trump, you're taking a giant risk. That doesn't help Steve Bannon at all, politically, grifting-wise, etc. Okay. That appears to be his true principle. If you say, hey, I don't want to appear like I'm opening the door to the right wing, even listening to the right wing at all, so I'll just say that Steve Bannon is a devil and every position he has is wrong without even looking into the positions, well, I don't think that's the right way to go.
All right, look.
When you see that there's a giant difference between what I'm saying and the...
Here's the thing. Steve Bannon is not in office, and maybe he still does have communication with Trump, but as far as him pushing policy, he's irrelevant to the conversation, honestly. What policy can he help push? Now, if it's anything right-wing and extreme, yeah, I'm pretty sure he can have some influence, but talking about increasing corporate taxes, I highly doubt that's going to go great with Trump. Let's be honest about that.
What Dave Rubin did, changing all of his positions overnight, that those things are totally, utterly different.
I have to, if I say I have to flip it because it's just such a grift. It's unbelievable. Because no one, I don't care who you are, no one changes their core principles like that. No one just does a 180. There's some things where you go, okay, you know, I'm a little bit conservative on this. I'm a little bit more liberal on this. Okay, so I've opened my eyes to this, but just the entire thing and then the whole, what was it, Russia tenant thing of it all is like, okay, it was just mind blowing to me. But anyways, look, I just want to play this. A couple people who I respect here, really respect in this space, these spaces. You, Dave Pacman, Brian Tyler Cohen. You were on Brian. I want to play a little bit of it, and then we're going to move on to something else. I'm going to get your response, and then we'll move on.
My worry is that like you trying to get through to them on these issues of principle is falling flat because it's not principle that got them there in the first place. There is no longstanding principle when you are a Trump supporter.
So do you believe that there is no? I believe there is no longstanding principle. Not necessarily if you're.
And I agree with that too as well. It's all about power. It's all about power. It's all about winning. I don't think there's no long-standing principle. No. Well, actually, I take that back. Basically, their long-standing principle is make sure that anybody rich, powerful, and more than likely Caucasian succeeds. I think that's their principle, but let's continue.
Well, I guess if you're a Trump supporter, yeah, because as you said, so many lies. But if you are one of these MAGA folks, if you are making excuses for, violent, really criminals storming the Capitol and being pardoned, then you have no principles. And as long as you understand that, then I think people are
right,
maybe
Don.
okay or should be okay with what you're doing. You don't believe that?
No, I think that you guys are talking about the 2016 and 2020 base. And if you say, well, I can't, you're saying that the base is very different in 24. I'm saying, yeah, the base is
it's the same base. I'm sorry. You might have had a few people change their perception or whatnot, but it's the same base. Like it was like 5 or 6% of Republicans voted for Kamala. All the rest of the Republicans, they voted for Trump. Like they stuck with Trump. That whole, oh yeah, Kamala was gonna be able to get white women to vote for her, that was a fantasy. It was all a facade. It was not real. So saying that it's not the same base as it once was, has it gained more people? Yeah. Has it changed? No, it still has remained the same. So I want to hear what he got to say.
Is somewhat different, right? So what does somewhat different mean? Remember, Don, we're in a spectrum, right? There is no black and white. There is no like, hey, this is the Republican voter. There were people who voted for Donald Trump because they were worried about inflation and they don't care about any of this other hateful stuff, blah, blah, blah. There are people who voted for Donald Trump because they think the Democratic Party lied to them.
If I hear about milk and eggs one more goddamn time, I'm going to lose my mind. And by the way, I'm still keeping track of the price of milk and eggs because I'm waiting for them to listen. I want to see milk and eggs go for about $1.20 at the most. At the most. Let's continue.
And then there are people who voted for him because they think he's a demigod, and they like the anti-immigrant talk and the anti-this talk and the anti. So it's a giant range, right? And so in the old days, though, when outward facing in media, etc., they were all single-minded. Whatever Trump says, absolutely. But I could show you already a dozen examples where they were like, no, we don't agree. So by the way, on things that we might agree with Trump more than we agree with his MAGA base on some of them. For example, on COVID, they thought that he did too much in response to COVID. We're closer to Trump than the MAGA base is there. But wait a minute, you see how they're disagreeing. And if you ask them about Marco Rubio, Stefanik, etc., they'll say those are establishment neocons and we don't like them. So that doesn't mean
Can we say something? Because again, Cenk comes from this era where everybody who wasn't a progressive or on the left was evil. And so, mind you, he's the one who perpetuated this, right? He's the one who talked about this on his channel, and this is how he got those 6 million subscribers, right? But again, no Democrat, nobody on the left, no progressive told him he has to hate Republicans or people on the right. No one has ever told him that. And he's trying to say this thing like, we don't want to have a conversation with them. No one told you couldn't have a conversation. If you want to have a conversation, go ahead. But this was not always your position. You have and let's be honest about something. Cenk is not, an 18-year-old just getting into politics, and then by the time he's 30, he's changing his mind. No, he's in his 50s. Like, come on now. And now he's doing all of a sudden this change. And mind you, let's also point this out too. Cenk was originally a Republican, and he has said some horrible things, but we'll talk about that on another show. I don't want to keep y'all too long. We're almost at an hour into this, so let's continue.
They're doing a revolt against Trump and going, no, we hate Rubio and take him down, but they are disagreeing with him. H-1B visas, disagreement. if you're not seeing the
Yes, but the
disagreement,
disagreement. Think about the disagreement, though, Cenk. The disagreement on H-1B visas, and people were shocked that I had such salty language around it. It's because of the racist. Like, the disagreement shows you really the sort of integrity or the soul of the MAGA folks.
They do not have a problem with the HB1 visas. Because of well, let me say this. Let me just put it out there. It's the fact that they have these foreigners or immigrants coming over here and getting these jobs, and they're mad because they're all like, wait, we're here. And by what I mean by we're here is that they're white. And so this is not what we voted for. So you're letting these type of people come in, which a lot of people don't realize that affects more of the high paying jobs, because at the end of the day, they're bringing immigrants over on those visas so they can pay them less. The corporations don't want to pay a lot of money, so they know they can pay them less. And then you have the immigrants coming over here thinking that they're better than you, because it's all like, hey, because you guys are so stupid, they had to get us from another country. So we know we're better than you, even though we might be making less than you, but you don't even have this job. So I got more money than you do. It's a whole psychological thing with it, y'all. It's deeper than that. But mainly it's, we don't want all these Indians over here. That's their issue. It's not because they're taking jobs. I don't really think. Well, let me take that back. That is a part of it, but I don't think that's why the right has an issue with it. I think it's the more being brown than anything. But hey,
because they went online and they were so racist about Indian American people, the Indians, and these are the brown folks that they, I think the folks like Vivek, who is a brown person, which is shocking to me, but they are the good brown folks, which is H-1B visa people, where many of them brown folks from India, and then the bad brown folks are the ones who happen to be coming over from the border. And it is really steeped in such disgusting racism that
H-1B1. I'm sorry, I said the visa wrong.
There is a disagreement on H-1B visas.
So, Don, that's a great example. And again, I think you're seeing it wrong. And not because you're completely wrong, but because you're only seeing a part of it. So that's just such a great example. So H-1B visas, are there the racist components you're talking about? Absolutely. There's no question about it. They're not hiding it, and they just say it. Some of the right-wing media, the leaders, et cetera, let alone the followers. We don't want these Indians in the country. We don't want these immigrants, et cetera.
Leanne Coulter, I would have voted for you. I can't vote for you because you're Indian. And look at what happens to the two Indian candidates from the MAGA presidential election. Basically, they're outcasts now. They don't want them.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because Nikki Haley and Vivek are very different, and they don't like Nikki Haley because she's establishment, and Vivek is super annoying. But that's a different thing.
Now, I will say this: I do think Vivek is annoying as hell, and Nikki Haley changes her positions all the time. She can't stick to one position. She changes it at a drop of a dime. But I do believe that if Nikki Haley was maybe Caucasian, I do think that she would have beat Trump. I mean, she gave him a little bit of a fight, but again, Republicans like to talk about, we don't like identity politics and things like that, but they're quick to call her out on her race, just like they did Kamala with, she's Indian, she's not black. They're the ones who started that. Kamala's campaign was nothing about identity politics or anything like that, but they made it about race. They made it about identity. With Vivek, the Ann Coulter situation, she was like, even though I thought you were great and blah, 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 I wouldn't vote for you because you're Indian. She said this to his face, and literally his mouth dropped. And instead of clapping back and was like, well, that's racist, why would you say that? He just continued with the conversation, and he thought that he could convince her to vote for him. She was never going to vote for you. She told you you're Indian. She's not going to vote for you. But Vivek can say a lot of things, which I don't want to turn the conversation. He can say a lot of things about black people. We'll do a video on that. Let me know in the chat if you want me to do a video on that, the things that he has said about black people.
Okay,
Both will say anything to be president.
Yeah, anything to get ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but on H-1B visas, it's complicated because there's a lot of progressives. Like, again, we come to, wait, who's the left, right? So we've changed none of our policies, and I think that we represent the great majority of the left-wing voters. And so I used to support H-1B visas completely because it brought in some of the top talent in the world. I'm in favor of immigration. I love that it makes us stronger, etc. But populists, both from the right and the left, started to make very good arguments against it, including Bernie Sanders, who had an op-ed, and Ro Khanna, and all these guys came out and said, wait a minute, the H-1B visa is getting abused. This isn't racial. Ro Khanna's Indian, obviously, right? Indian American. And he said they're now replacing a lot of the engineers for half the price and kicking out these American engineers. And it's not because, we can't find them. It's because they want to cut costs. And this is part of corporate rule.
I understand.
So
I think you're pointing out,
Bernie
I think you're
Sanders on
making
that.
my point. I think you're proving my point, because the reason that the left and someone like Bernie Sanders disagrees with H-1B visas is a completely different, understandable, logical, factual reason, rather than the racist reason that you find on the right. You don't find that that does not exist on the left or on the center.
I swear to you that you're seeing it wrong. Does that racist part exist? Yes. But a lot of the right wing also agree on economic grounds. And then there's the people that are in the middle that think.
So basically, Cenk's thing is just ignore all the racism and just agree with the points that you like about them. It's hard to ignore that. And I think we don't have this conversation. The reason why it's hard for somebody like me or somebody else who comes from a marginalized group to just ignore that is because if you don't even think my existence, I deserve to be here in this country, at least I don't deserve to be here in this country, then it's hard to actually get to a common ground. You know, the attacks on wokeism, mind you, black people been saying woke, and then all of a sudden the media and the Caucasians started stealing that word woke. DEI has been turned into a negative thing. Affirmative action, like everything that has to do with people of color has been turned to something negative. So it's hard to want to have a conversation with these people who say you don't deserve to have the job that you have because of your race and all this other stuff, and try to find common ground with those people. And Cenk knows this. He's just playing dumb, basically.
America first. Let's take
I don't
care
agree.
of
I'm not saying all of the right. I'm not saying all of the right. What I'm saying is that you wouldn't get that vitriol if someone, first of all, someone I believe on the left, and look, I'm not a Democrat or Republican, I'm an independent, okay? But there's someone on the left I don't believe would have written that really, oh my God, infuriating letter or tweet that Vivek Ramaswamy wrote, right? In some ways, shockingly biased by his own means. And then I don't think you would have gotten the vitriol and the racism and the bigotry and all of that on the left that you got on the right. I'm not saying that everyone on the right, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they're different principally, and the core values are different. Democrats are terrible at politics. Don't get me wrong. But
agreed.
At the core, they're not freaking racist pieces of crap like a lot of people in the MAGA movement, or many people in the MAGA.
I believe that Democrats can be racist. It's just that they're not so open about it. I wouldn't say no Democrats are racist. Let's be clear about that one.
So Don, that goes to the disagreements we have on social issues between the right and the left. So I understand exactly what you're saying. At the same time, though, I'm beginning to see, Don, that we have our own version of that. And it's not the same and it's not as bad. But now we've gotten into a mindset that everyone on the right is the worst person on earth.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, you kind of are, though.
Wait, no, I'm not saying. I just told you I don't believe that.
Kind of are.
I am not. By pointing out
he
a
didn't
fact
say
does
that.
not say that saying that I think that everybody on the right. I don't think that everybody on the right is.
But you're saying those are the people on the right. They're the racist, terrible people, and we're the good guys. and largely I agree. That's why I'm on the left, right?
I'm not
But
saying
you-
I'm not part of the we.
But
I think it's a different time period where a standard Republican, which I don't know why anybody pushes this because this would be more favorable. They believe in small government, state rights, those kind of things. But today's Republicans, they're not pushing that. They're not pushing those kind of concepts that even immigration, Reagan, Bush, they were very pro-immigration. So today's Republicans are not the same. They're literally MAGA. But let's continue.
at the same time, a lot of us on the left keep calling them Nazis, racist, et cetera, and we have so much vitriol towards them that I'm challenging us.
Then don't be a Nazi or a racist. I get so sick and tired of this argument. Oh, you're calling, especially you're making everything about race, or you're using the race card, or you're calling everybody racist, or you're calling them Nazis. Then don't act like one. Don't be one. Simple as that. If you don't want to be called a racist, if you don't want to be called this or that, don't be that. Like, simple as that. That's how you change that. Don't put it on the person calling you out on your ignorance or your bigotry or your racism. Don't put it on them. Put it on yourself to change that. But let's continue.
Us to say, hey guys, is this what the left is supposed to be? Or are we
But
supposed to be a little
don't
bit
you
more
think civility-
open-minded and
you-
open-hearted about it? And
Oh
get
my
so
God.
let me finish the thought. Don, let me finish the thought.
Okay.
On H-1B visas. So it's okay to say, hey, these group of people are being racist about it. They say it. We're against Indians, we're against other races, etc. But it's also okay to say no, but there's also a portion of the right wing that agree with us that the H-1B visas should be reformed on economic grounds. They're coming to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is not going to them. And if they come to Bernie Sanders, for God's sake, take the goddamn win.
Okay.
But
Who's going to Bernie Sanders? Like, they're not going to Bernie Sanders because, What is he talking about?
our side goes, no. The minute that it's a right winger, they're the devil. They're the racist. I don't want anything to do. But they're saying yes.
Okay.
Please take yes for an answer on the limited things that they are saying yes to.
Okay.
And
Jake.
unfortunately, a lot of people on our side are actively rejecting yes for an answer on.
Elon already said he's in favor of the H-1B1 visa. So did Trump. So as far as that changing, I don't see it in the near future unless they rebel against Elon and Trump. But other than that, they're going to stick with whatever Elon does. I mean, Elon is the president. But whatever they say, the Republicans, majority of them, are going to go with it. We already seen before Trump even took office, Elon was already throwing his weight around with the Speaker of the House. So, yeah, we already see the influence. They're not swaying from the power. No.
Policies we fought for our whole lives. And Don, it's not going to happen on day one. Trump's not going to turn it like, oh my God, I'm an angel. I don't care about money or anything about it. No, we have to try to get to that right-wing populist base that agrees with us on economic issues and unite to create enough pressure on Donald Trump, Elon Musk, etc., to maybe get to the right things on a couple of issues.
All right, I get it. Okay. Couple of things. Number one, it's not us. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a progressive. Okay. So I'm looking at this from, I believe, a center left, sometimes center right perspective. Okay. The other thing is that, yes, I agree with you that you have to work together. But I believe what you're saying is a false equivalence. And I think civility goes both ways. And so you're asking for I believe that you are asking for this sort of patriotic civility that you've got to be nice, you've got to work with people when the folks on that side don't want to work with the other side. And they are the ones, they are usually hang on, please. They are ones that it's usually the name callers. They are the ones that are using the bigoted language. They are the ones who are, I'm not saying they're all Nazis, but there are neo-Nazis. All of those people that you mentioned, the neo-Nazis, are they on the left, Cenk?
No.
Okay. Are
Right.
people who are calling, the Indian Americans and I don't mean Native Americans, I mean Indian Americans like Nikki Haley and Vivek, are they on the left?
So
No. But please answer my question.
Don,
Are those folks on the
that's
left?
why I'm on the left, Don.
So
That's why I'm on the left.
Okay,
But
so
you
fine.
said
So
name
what I'm
calling.
saying
Hold on.
is, don't do the false equivalence, and don't think that civility goes both one way. It goes both ways. And so I believe until those folks start being civil to the people who are on the left, then you have to meet them with their own energy and stop saying, okay, and then I want to work with you guys, and okay, let's kumbaya.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way with the new right. It doesn't work that way with MAGA.
So Don, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I just told
Okay,
you that
maybe
I was
I'm not.
I
Okay,
just
maybe
told
I'm
you I
not.
was in a 45-minute debate with a right winger where I said, "Are you done? Are you one done?" Look at any right winger that I talk to. We get into these brawls.
And you know what the funny part is? Cenk always talks about how he goes on these right-wing platforms and they agree with the stuff that he says. Like, I have not seen, and maybe I haven't watched them all, but every platform that Cenk goes on, the right-wing platforms, I have not seen this kumbaya, they all love each other. When he went on the Patrick Bet David show, like one of the dudes, I forgot his name, but he was all like, I want to know, are all Democrats gay? Because I feel like you have to be, y'all remember that clip? I gotta go back and find it and then post it later for you guys. Cenk didn't say, like, he didn't push back at all. He took it like a little punk. This is, man, I think I had enough for right now, you guys. Make sure you guys check out Don Lemon. I will go ahead and post the link in the description of this video. Please let me know what you guys think. Do you think that Cenk is a sellout, basically? Or do you think that he is trying to reach across the aisle and trying to, find common ground? Do you think that he's doing a good thing? Or do you think that he's being harmful? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I appreciate all of you, but we out of here. Deuces, everybody.